Thus saith the Lord, Go down to the house of the king of Judah, and speak there this word. And say, Hear the word of the Lord, O King of Judah, that sittest upon the throne of David, thou and thy servants and thy people that enter in by these gates. The message, following up the answer to the messengers of Zedekiah in the last chapter, reviews the history of the three preceding kings, and apparently reproduces the very words of the warnings which he had uttered in each to the king who then ruled, the words that Jeremiah delivered unto each king, and which had been but too terribly fulfilled. It was delivered, we are told, in the very palace of the king, this message. So we're going to be seeing Jeremiah telling Zedekiah, look, I prophesied things unto these other kings before you, and they all come to pass. Now know that what I'm telling you is also going to come to pass. That's how sure that you can be. Thus saith the Lord, Execute ye judgment, he tells the king. Execute ye judgment and righteousness, and deliver the spoiled out of the hand of the oppressor, and do no wrong. Do no violence to the stranger, the fatherless, nor the widow, neither shed innocent blood in this place. For if you do this thing indeed, then shall there enter in by these gates of this house kings, sitting upon the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses, he and his servants and his people. But if ye will not hear these words, I swear by myself, saith the Lord, that this house shall become a desolation. For thus saith the Lord unto the king's house of Judah, Thou art Gilead unto me, and the head of Lebanon. Yet surely I will make thee a wilderness in cities which are not inhabited. Lebanon was north of Israel, and sometimes it was conquered by them and such. So let's take that into context. Lebanon was the highest mountain in Israel and was therefore an apt emblem of the reigning family, advanced to the highest rank of dignity in the state. Gilead, to the east of the Jordan, was the richest and most fertile part of the country. The meaning then is plainly this: By my providence thou art not only supreme in rank, but hast been rendered exceedingly wealthy and flourishing. But the same power that raised will likewise be exerted in reducing thee to the lowest state of indigence and distress. And I will prepare destroyers against thee, every one with his weapons, and they shall cut down thy choice cedars and cast them into the fire. Many nations shall pass by this city, and they shall say, every man to his neighbor, Wherefore hath the Lord done thus unto this great city? Speaking of Jerusalem. Now the choice cedars mentioned there, Lebanon was known for the great cedars. Solomon, he even sent for their cedars to build Solomon's temple. And the symbolism implied right there is the choice cedars, meaning the royal family. But let us quickly analyze the remarks that the Lord says would be said whenever people look upon the desolated, the burned Jerusalem. They say, and this is nations, even Gentile nations, whenever they pass by the city, they say, Wherefore hath the Lord done this unto this great city? Why did God do this? Since the time of Abraham, and ever increasing to the time of Joshua, the whole world was aware of the Hebrew people's God, Jehovah. This verse is one of the many solid proofs regarding the Gentiles' knowledge of him. Jehovah's name has been widely known ever since the very beginning. See, especially up until the time of Noah, because Adam and Eve, they lived a long, long time, and they were eyewitnesses to him. And Enoch, everyone heard about Enoch, how he was taken and all this. So God's name has always been known throughout the world. But after the flood, many people, well, there was only Noah and them left. And during those times that Noah and his sons taught people, then was Abraham brought up, and the Jews began through them. Then shall the reply be to these Gentile nations, Because they have forsaken the covenant of the Lord their God, and worshipped other gods, and served them, weep ye not for the dead, neither bemoan him, but weep sore for him that goeth away, for he shall return no more, nor see his native country. With this verse begins the detailed review of the three previous reigns. the prophecies being reproduced as they were actually delivered, that Jeremiah delivered unto these kings. The dead for whom men are not to weep is Josiah, whenever it says, weep not for the dead. So that's speaking of Josiah, for whom Jeremiah had himself composed a solemn song for. Josiah was a very good king. He was killed in Megiddo by the Pharaoh Necho, which seems from 2 Chronicles 35 to have been repeated on the anniversary of his death. For thus saith the Lord touching Shallum, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, which reigned instead of Josiah his father, which went forth out of his place. He shall not return there any more. This was the prophecy delivered unto Shallum. He shall not return there any more, but he shall die in the place where they have led him captive, and shall see this land no more. Woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers by wrong, that useth his neighbour's service without wages, and giveth him not for his work, that saith, I will build me a wide house and large chambers, and cutteth him out windows, and it is sealed with cedars, and painted with vermilion. Now this is pointing to the successor of Shallum, Jehoiakim, Shallum's older brother and successor. As though it were not enough to involve the land in a heavy tribute to the king of Egypt, he also exacted forced labor from his own subjects that he might have a sumptuous palace built for himself. Loved building large houses. Jehoiakim reigned under the protection of Necho, under the protection of Egypt, for some time, and paid heavy tribute. When the new Chaldean Empire under Nebuchadnezzar defeated Egypt at the Battle of Carchemish in 605 BC, however, Jehoiakim changed his allegiance from the Egyptian king to Nebuchadnezzar. He was very frightened of Nebuchadnezzar. Jehoiakim remained loyal to Nebuchadnezzar for 3 years and then revolted against him. After several battles and invasions, Nebuchadnezzar led the decisive invasion against Judah and besieged Jerusalem in 598 BC. Jehoiakim died at this time, but the circumstances of his death remain uncertain. We're not told how he died. Shalt thou reign because thou closest thyself in cedar? Did not thy father eat and drink and do judgment and justice, and then it was well with him? He judged the cause of the poor and needy, then it was well with him. Was not this to know me, saith the Lord? But thine eyes and thine heart are not but for thy covetousness, and for to shed innocent blood, and for oppression, and for violence to do it. Therefore thus saith the Lord concerning Jehoiakim the son of Josiah, king of Judah, they shall not lament for him, saying, Oh, my brother, or Oh, sister. They shall not lament for him, saying, Oh, Lord, or all his glory. Now so corrupt was Jehoiakim that, besides exacting forced labor to procure the necessary means for the vast expenses he incurred building these big buildings, he put innocent people to death on various pretexts and stole their property. He shall be buried with the burial of an ass, drawn and cast forth beyond the gates of Jerusalem. Go up to Lebanon and cry, lift up thy voice in Bashan and cry from the passages, for all thy lovers are destroyed. Now the lovers that it's speaking of, thy lovers shall be destroyed. It's believed that that's meaning the allied nations in whom he allied himself with and put his faith in. The king was dragged in chains with the other captives who were being carried off to Babylon, and probably died on the journey, his corpse left behind unburied as the army marched. That's just the theory. Once again, we're not told how Jehoiakim died. The phrase, he slept with his fathers in 2 Kings 24, cannot be pressed as meaning more than the mere fact of death. I spake unto thee in thy prosperity, but thou sayest, I will not hear. This hath been thy manner from thy youth, that thou obeyest not my voice. The wind shall eat up all thy pastors, and thy lovers shall go into captivity. Surely then shalt thou be ashamed and confounded for all thy wickedness. O inhabitant of Lebanon, that makest thy nest in the cedars, how gracious shalt thou be when pangs come upon thee, the pain as of a woman in travail, as I live, saith the Lord. Though Coniah, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, were the signet upon my right hand, yet would I pluck thee thence. And I will give thee, Coniah, into the hand of them that seek thy life, and into the hand of them whose face thou fearest, even into the hand of Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, and into the hand of the Chaldeans. And I will cast thee out, and thy mother that bare thee, into another country, where ye were not born, and there shall ye die. Now, it's making specific mention of Coniah's mother, namely Nehushta. Coniah, he was a young man. He was only 18 whenever he became king, so he wasn't married. The youth of Coniah probably led to his mother assuming the authority of a queen regent. She directed the policy of his brief reign and shared in his downfall. Her name, Nehushta, is given in 2 Kings 24:8 and in Jeremiah 29:2. She is named as the Gebara, the great lady or princess queen. So the Lord's saying, Coniah, you and your mother are both going to go to Babylon. There you'll die. But to the land whereunto they desire to return, namely Jerusalem, there they shall not return. Is this man Coniah a despised, broken idol? Is he a vessel wherein is no pleasure? Wherefore are they cast out, he and his seed, and are cast into a land which they know not? Now, what's the Lord mean right here? Is this man Coniah a despised, broken idol? Is he a vessel wherein is no pleasure? Coniah was idolized once by the Jews. Jeremiah, therefore, in their person, expresses their astonishment at one from whom so much had been expected being now so utterly cast aside. O earth, 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 says Jeremiah, hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, write ye this man childless, a man that shall not prosper in his days, for no man of his seed shall prosper, sitting upon the throne of David and ruling any more in Judah. Now that is a very striking prophecy right there, very disheartening. That's even a light word for it, because God promised that David's seed would always reign over Judah. And right here we're being told, thus saith the Lord, a man shall not prosper in his days, for no man of his seed, Coniah, shall prosper, sitting upon the throne of David and ruling any more. And they haven't ever since. Zedekiah was the very last one that actually ruled from the seed of David. And the very next king, because they rejected God, now the seed of David has been halted for a time until Christ comes back. Now Christ is going to be the last and final of the seed of David to rule. He'll rule upon the throne of David, Christ. The meaning of the prediction, as explained by the latter clause of the verse, was fulfilled in Jeconiah's being the last kingly representative of the house of David, his uncle Zedekiah, who succeeded him on the throne, perishing before him, as we're told in Jeremiah 52:31. In him the scepter departed, Coniah, and not even Zerubbabel, after the captivity 70 years later, not even Zerubbabel sat upon the throne of Judah, and he was a descendant of David. It certainly always helps to have a little bit of history going into these kinds of studies, and I'm very glad that we got to chapter 22 and have went a little bit in depth. Maybe now you can see how the buildup has come to be so terrible. After Josiah, his sons and his grandson, Coniah, they just did wicked after Josiah. And Josiah was one of the best kings ever. But I hope that you all learned something today, my dear friends. Thank you all for joining me. God willing, we'll be getting into Jeremiah 23 very soon. God of peace be with you.